Kia ora mai tātou. Ko Lahni Wharerau tēnei e mihi atu ana ki a koutou katoa. Mai i te pito o te ao nei, manga moka, Tautoko FM. I tēnei rā, ka noho tahi ahau me matua Babe Kapa, rauatahi ko Tāmati Rākena. Ko te tokorua nei e tū ana i roto i te wāri Māori mo tēnei kōwhiringa pōti, rua mano rua te kaumārua. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi atu ki a tātou katoa, aini ka noho tahi ki te kōrero ki te tokorua nei, engari tuatahi mai, me haere ki tētahi wahine hei kinaki ngā kōrero. Hoki ora mai, aini. Kia ora rā.
Te manawa, dere ana, ngā mahara, e rongo ana, te wairua. I tēnei mea, e kia nei ko te aroha, e te witinga o te rā. Taku marama, i te pō, i te rangi nei, ho mai ki au he wahanga. Kia koro wai, tia koe ki te aroha. Tō manawa ko tōku manapā, he manawa ka turuturua. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Me kohine, ruhi koe, kori kori, rire rire, nana rai tu te ataha para, e te hina tore whita aho maira. Tō manawa ko tōku manawa, he manawa ka turuturua. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Tō manawa ko tōku manapā, he manawa ka turuturua. Ko te here o te aroha, he herenga wauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa. Haere i te arara, o te aroha mauroa.
Hoki mai anō rā e te iwi ki Ngā Tai O Tokerau. Ki tōku taha, ko matua Babe Kapa, No te ao pauri, te raroa, Ngāti Kahu, Ngā Puhi, Ngāti Whakaeke te hapu. Ne matua, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe, nau mai ki tō tātou whare. No nei ko Tāmati Rākena, tēnā koe hoa.
Morena.
Ko hatu taka me te uri o te aho o hapu. No reira, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe. Ko hara mai kaurua mā runge i ngā rori ko piko o te kāinga nei, kia tai mai ki te pito o te ao ki Mangamuka. No reira, tēnei te mihi atu kia kaurua, nā kaurua hoki i hakatū o ringa i roto i tēnei o ngā kaupapa. Tēnei te tau tuatahi, kua tū ngā he wāri Māori o roto mai o te Tai Tokerau. No reira, tuatahi mai pia me tīmata te hakamārama atu ki te whānau ko wai kaurua he aha hoki o wawata o hia mo tēnei o ngā tū. Ngā mihi, kia koe hoki e te
tēnā koe. Tuatahi ko te mihi atu kia koutou hoki whai wāhanga ki te tū tēnei momo kōrero. I wainganui hoki i tēnei rohe. Wako mohe o koutou ko wai ahau, ko Babe Kapa, ahau no kaikohe, tupu ake i roto te iringa. Nā kona ka tīmata mātou ki te hikoe i roto kaikohe. Te taku tū e roa nei e tuku nei ahau tēnei tono. Engari, ko tēnei te wahanga tuatahi, hei pōtimonga mo te ngai Māori. Tāku nei me e tiro hiana, me pēhea tātou e hikoe anga mua, ki te hakorongo, ki te reo, me te kanohi, e puta nei o mātou whakaro a Māori ki ngā kaupapa kei mua i a tātou katoa. E whakahaere tia nei tēnei rohe. Tāku nei, hono, me ngā pukenga i aru e hau, mai taku tīmatatanga mahi tainoa ki tēnei wā nā ko wā te au ki te tino tiro, te rapu e ha ngā hua i roto i a hau ka taia ki te hapai i a tātou ngai Māori. Nō reira mihi ana ke tātou katoa.
Pai, kia ora. Hoino e tautoko ana ngā mihi taku matua nei. Kia koutou o te teihana o tautoko. Rongo nui rawa atu, kei raro i te taumarumarutanga o te tātou maunga tapu o te whare tapu o Ngā Puhi, maunga taniwha me te awa e rere nei a tāpapa, me ngā tini ko piko katoa o te kāinga nei, mihi ana ki a koutou i whai wāhi mai ki ngā koroke nei, te taiohi nei, nohona ki taku taha. Me wana mahi i roto i ngā tau kua hipa nei, ko tō taima tuatoru tēnei nei, ngā tū ki roto i tēnei kaupapa. Hoi no, nāna tēnei huarahi para mō mātou e rehi nei i roto i tēnei i ngā wāri Māori, nō reira mihi ana ki a koe taku matua. Hoi no, ko Tāmati Rākena tēnei, i te tau tōku māma, no konei, no Mangamuka, me te pupuke, i te tau tōku pāpā, no roto o ngai tū te auru, maunga pūhanga tohora, no Ngāti Hine anō hoki. I tēnei wā e noho anau ki te kai kohe, ki te pū o te wheke, ko au te kaitiaki o ngā kākahu nei, e mea ana ko kākahu taiao, ko au te tahi o ngā tētē kura o te whare wānanga o Tāmaki anō hoki. I te mutunga o te rā, he pāpā hau, he kaitiaki tōku whānau, ko oku whainga, ko oku moemoea, kia tū hei reo, he kanohi mo te iwi Māori nei. Mōhi ana tātou katoa, ko aroa nei te Māori e noho kei raro iho e putu ana, ki ngā upehitanga o te kāwanatanga o ngā kaunihera, te kaunihera o nanahi o nai nei tonu nei, no rea ko tāku e hihia, kia hakatutuki i ngā moemoea, me ngā manako, me ngā ōhaki o rātou ma, no rea koko nei hau he kanohi mo tātou katoa te iwi Māori.
Kia ora Tāmati.
Tēnā rau atu kaurua. E mea ana koe e roa nei te iwi Māori e noho pēhia nei raro i ngā tohu a te kaunihera. Anō tētahi kōrero e ko himu haere ana i roto i ngā whānau, ngā hapu katoa. mo wera mo āhuatanga. Nā, kia koe e hoa, me pēhea hoki koutou e tūnei roto i te kaupapa mo te wāri Māori nei, me pēhea hoki koutou e hakarere ke ngia taua āhua i roto i tērā o ngā whare.
Kia hau nei, ko timata te hakapokake, te hakarere kētanga o au āhuatanga, nā te hakatūnga o ngā wāri Māori, pēnei me Ngā Tai O Tokerau, ko whai wāhi te reo Māori i roto i ngā kaunihera. Ki te hakatutuki i a wairaini, i aua tūru, nā kua whai reo anō te iwi Māori. Me te hihi anoki, kia noho moko tepania, he koro matua mo te iwi Māori, mo te kaunihera o te Tai Tokerau ki te raki. Nā rima koni atu pea ngā Māori ka noho ki roto i te kaunihera o te Tai Tokerau ki te raki. Ko reira pea te tahi rongoa mā tātou katoa, hei karo, hei tīni, hei hakapokake i ngā aupēhitanga o ngā kaunihera o nāia nei o nanahi nuki.
Tēnā koe, he wātuatahi tērā ki te pērā nei, no reira, me noho hakahihi tātou ka tika i roto i te wera āhuatanga, nera.
Ai, me te mea noki kia kaua tātou e kōkiri haka mua, me tā tātou ko tahi nahe, engari ko reira anō, ko tō tāua, ko tō tātou iwi, hei akiaki, hei noho, hei taituara, hei kai tautoko, mo ake tonu atu.
Kia ora. Kia koe matua.
Ai, tika ananga te kōrero e pāna ki te aka tū e nei tūru e whā. I roto i tēnei pōtitanga. Taku pauria kia au nei na, te rohe mo enei toko whā, ahua nui ake, ki ngā wāhi, mo ngā o tātou whanaunga ngai Pākehā. Nā ka tirohia te wāhanga ki te haere ki te tautoko i ngā whānau, tautoko i ngā rōpu. Pēnei i taku titiro i ngā tū e toko whāo mātou roto kaikohe mō Tai Tokerau. Me pēhea te kanuhi o te aupauri o Ngāti Kahu ka tuku wa rātou kōrero. Ai, e here ana tātou i raro i te whakapapa. Engari, aini pēr kei roto i a rātou, wa rātou ake kai kōrero. Nā, tērā te aua taku pauri i te mea pēnā ka tū e orite ana ki ngā tūru o te general, aini pēr ka taia tātou ki te tuku, te tahi tangata, ki te tū, ki kō, hei kai kōrero mo ngai Māori roto i wa rātou ake rohe. Engari tēnei, nā, pēnā ka māu ko Tāmati ka hau atu, nā, tā mātou hikoitanga, mai kai kohe, tainoa ki roto Ngāti Hene, peke atu ki roto Ngāti Kahu, nā, haere rauna. Tērā mahi, aha koa e pai ana, engari ka takahia o tātou i runga te huarahi, te utu, te haerenga tanga i runga te huarahi, e rāhuatanga, e ua. Te mahi, nā, kia au neina, ka taia te hono, mā runga i ngā mihini pēnei tēnei, a Google ma, a Zoom ma, kia taia koe ki te kapohe ngā kōrero. Engari mohi ana tātou i a tātou. Tā tātou hehia, kia tuku nātu te kanuhi me te kanuhi. Nā, kia huitahi, kia rongo koe, koe e kōrero ana. Koe i te tangata, i haere mai ki konei, ki te tuku ona nei kōrero, i wainginui te whānau nei. Nā, kei kona ke, te uauatanga mo tātou ngai Māori. Nā, pēnā ko tū te tahi tangata i roto i a tātou, nā, ko pai haere. I te mea, ka taia te haerere. Ngari, tēnei āhuatanga, āhua taimaha ki tāku nau titiro, mō ngā tangata ka whiwhi. Toko whānga tūranga, e here ana tātou ngā runga i te whakapapa, e here ana tātou i roto i ngā mahi katoa. Engari, kia aroha tātou mō ngā hunga ko te rere i runga i te huarahi, ki te tai atu ki tērā kokonga o te whare, a puhi, ki te rakarongo i ngā kōrero hakarongo ki ngā nawe, nā ka hoki anō, me ngā rongoa mai te kaunihera, ki te hakatika, ki te hakarongo wera aruatanga. Tāku nei, ahakoa he timatatanga tēnei, a te mutunga o tēnei wahanga, ka tirohi anō. Me pēhea e tātou Māori, kia kōrero tahi tātou, me o tātou ake. I te mea, mohi ana kai koe, kia mahua. Ahakoa, he herenga kei kona, kei kō, ngani ko te kanuhi ke, ka hore anō kia ki te o tātou whanaunga. Ahakoa, mohi ana. Tērā taku tēnō, ahua, ua.
Tēnā koe, Matua, tēnā koe. Ko te rohe o te wāri Māori mai tō wai tai atu ki te rerenga wairua. He āhua toru rau kiromita te tahiti, mai te taha tōnga ki te taha raki o te wāri nei.
Mai te rawhiti ki te uru noki.
Anō nei, hoki, ai.
Taku kitenga i tēnei he haereitanga, e hoa uorite ana ki te mea. I te mea, tā mātou haerenga toko whānei, ka hikoe te mata o te whenua tainoa ki runga, hoki mai ki raro nei. Nā, tērā te mahi a te mea. Nā, pēnā ko pēnā tā mātou mahi, e hoa, toko whāo mātou, he mea. Me mea katoa mātou.
He koro matua te katoa. Ana.
Me ngā pūtea ka taka mai ka tātou. Hei hāpai a mātou. Haerenga ki kona ai.
Mea ana koe nei mo te tō kōrero mo te mea. E mohiona tātou e toko toru o mātou ngai Māori e tuana i roto i ngā wāri Māori, anō hoki e tuana i roto i te kaupapa mo te koro matua, ko Moko tērā, ko Rachel Witana tērā, ko Clinton Deala hoki tērā. Te koe hoki o ngā Māori nei.
E hara mai te koe.
Ai, me ngā pūkenga katoa kai a rātau, i roto i tau kōrero matua, ki te tū o ki te uru tētahi o a tātou whanaunga hei koro matua, ka waiho mo te toko toru, te hakahaere ngā mahi katoa i roto i te wāri Māori. I te mea he nui ngā mahi a te koro matua ne. Nō reira, ka pēhea rā ki a kaurua, ka pēhea hoki te hakahaere i tērā āhua.
Taku titiro e whānga tūru mo te wahanga nei mo te tūranga Māori. Nā, ko tahi anō tūru mo te mea.
Ai.
Ko mea mai koe, e nei toko toru, e aru nei te taha Māori me te taha mo te mea. E nā whiwhi tētahi o rātou, kia hau atu hei mea, nā, ka wehe hea tērā tūranga i wainganui te ao Māori, ka tango hea anō tētahi atu i whiwhi warātou nei pōtitanga. No reira, I think e pēne ana i te mea, e kore tika ma te mea e hoki mai ki te mahi, ngā mahi wainganui Māori ne.
Ai.
Wai, tāku nei titiro. So, pēnā ka hau atu, tahi rua toru whā, te tahi o era toko whā, ka whiwhi te mea, ka peke ia ki kona, ka hau mai te tahi atu, te mea. Tatātu ki te toko whā nei. Tāku nei titiro.
Ka pērā anō pēnā ka taka iho mai, tētahi o aua Māori, ki hai rātou i whiwhi te tūranga o te koro matua, ka hoki pēnei mai ki ngā tūru e whā mo ngā wāri Māori o Ngā Tai O Tokerau. Nō reira, he mea ta haka mahere tātou i tētahi rautaki pai, e pai ai te noho o te hunga Māori ki aua tūru. Ngā hunga e tino whai pūkenga, whai tikanga, whai aro nui ana ki ngā hihia o te iwi Māori, ne? Kaua e pōti, ko tāku nei, kaua e pōti noa mo te tangata e hihia noana ki te noho ki aua tūru mō wā rātou ake take, ne, me pōti mo te tangata e ngākau nui ana ki te iwi Māori, ki te haka tutuki i ngā moemoea. Kawa no naia nei, tonu nei, engari no ngā ōhaki o rātou mā. Kua roa nei tātou te iwi Māori e whawhai ana mo ngā ture, ngā take Māori, nō reira pena hihana tātou, kia rongo te kaunihera, me ngā kāwanatanga i te reo, me ngā hihi o te iwi Māori, me pōti tātou mo te tangata ka tū pakari mo te iwi Māori. Kaua mo te tangata kei reira noa mo ngā pūtea me te aha tūraingi. Ai, tika ana. Engari, e mihi ana, ka tika me mihi atu ki ngā whanaunga Māori e tuana hei koro matua. Pena ka whakawhiwhia ki a wairaini, hoi no ko te whiwhinga nui ki te iwi Māori, ne? Ai.
Tēnā, kaurua. Ana, ka huri tātou ki te hakarongo ki tētahi waiata, tahi anō ka hoki mai ki te kōrero i roto i te reo pihikete, i te reo Pākehā, kia mārama katoa e hiahia nā hau te kōrero mō te rehita Māori, mena kai runga tō tātou whānau i te rehita Māori, me pēhea hoki te kaupapa hei tuku pōti ki te kaupapa nei. Me te aki hoki i te tātou iwi kia pōti.
Ai, tika, mea nui tēnā.
Ai, nō reira, ka hoki mai aini ki te kōrero wera.
Kapa.
Nā mihi, kia ora.
Tērā te karanga i te rangi, te manu tuia, tuia i runga, tuia i raro, tuia i roto, tuia i waho, tuia te here tangata, ka rongo te poka, rongo te o, haunea huie.
Welcome to Tāmati, it's our Turanga Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Tāmati, it's our Turanga Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Yeah, ain't nothing like a poor feedy on the marae when you arrive to meet up with another tribe. The sun shining in your eyes, showing off the flies, waiting for the first speaker on the pie. Fire corridor straight from the Mohior, vital life lessons for Tama and Cortidor, but one at a time. First Karamata will speak their minds, then the Manu Hiri will give their reply. No matter what the occasion, whether somebody's passed on or waiting or they're just aging, Marae is the staging. This is as formal as it gets, show aroha and respect for each other. Don't forget a waiata after your speech, brother. That's sweet cause we all know a little bit of Kapa haka. Tribal roots run deeper than you can manage or even imagine. Tapu ass but can be damaged, yeah.
Listen directly from your ancestors. They're in your blood. They're in your bones. When you travel to a distant land, you're gonna take a piece of home that'll resonate deep in your soul.
Yeah, welcome to Tāmati. It's our Turanga Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Tāmati. It's our Turanga Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. No matter if you've come from near or far, we all know the Kopapa, where your roots are drawn to your whakapapa. You never fall for the future without your past, without the wairua. Vitukuna, Panupa, Hongi and Kihi, no mai hare mai to the whānau behind the scenes, mahi up in the wharekai. It comes as no surprise, Māori are multi-talented, keeping the balance between our art crafters and battlers. This ain't a place for staunch walks or faces forward arrogance. Amateurs are just a straight up embarrassment. The teko says it all to the average witness, for they knew we portraits of real savages. Blood of our ancestors runs deep within tribal marriages and kohanga reo to teach the kids one foundations of concrete. That's where my speech begins. Māori stand again. This time we fight for keeps and win. Yeah.
Listen directly from your ancestors. They're in your blood. They're in your bones. When you travel to a distant land. You're gonna take a piece of home that'll resonate deep in your soul.
Yeah, welcome to Tāmati. It's our Turanga Wai Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam. Welcome to Tāmati. It's our Turanga Wai Wai. It's the place where I'm from, the place I belong, the place where my ancestors roam.
Era ngā maunga, ka puta ngā puna, e rere ngā awa ki te moana. Te wai ora mō ngā mea katoa, e rere te wai ora e. Te wai ora mō ngā mea katoa, e re re e. Te wai ora e. Hei hea ngā rākau nunui. Hei hea ngā manu, e re re. Te wai ora e, e re re e. Te wai ora mō ngā mea katoa, e re re e. Te wai ora e. These are the mountains that send forth the waters, flowing on down to the sea. A source of life for you and me. Where are the birds that used to fly, way up high up in the treetops? Way up high up on the mountains, have they flown away? Hey, hey, hey.
Kia ora mai tātou, nau mai anō ki Ngā Tai O Tokerau, kei konei a mātou manuhiri, matua babe Kapa and Tāmati Rākena. Just before the break, when the waiata came on, we were having a quick kōrero about the electoral roll. So for the Māori ward, you have to be on the Māori roll to vote for our 18 whanaunga who are standing in a Māori ward. So at the moment, there are 25,000 people enrolled on the Māori roll, and if we're enrolled on the Māori roll, we can vote for our whānau, but there's a lot of kōrero around how that process might work. So we were just having a quick yarn in the break about that, and you had some interesting kōrero there, Tāmati, about your involvement with the Electoral Commission, and I really liked the way that you explained it, and if you could let our whānau know, I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah, so basically what it is that a lot of our whānau who may be registered to vote and they're not sure about it, you know, it's easy, just go on to vote.nz and then all you have to do is either have your passport or a license or a Real Me account, and then you can check whether you are registered to vote and which role you're on as well, because going back to what you said is that if you are on the Māori role, you can vote for those candidates, those 18 candidates who are standing in Ngā Tai O Tokerau. And there's also the new system of voting that we're using as well in these elections, which is the single transferable voting system, which is STV. So all it means is pretty much that you number off from your most favourite candidate to, no, I wouldn't say at least favourite candidate, but you know, if there's 18 of us, you could just number off 1 to 18. Now we're still waiting on confirmation to see, because it is a numbering system, if whānau tick, because in the past we've used first past the post, and what you do in that is you tick. In this voting process, a tick could be seen as void, ne? So if you tick, you know, if we say we have 10,000 of those Māori whānau doing a tick, that could be 10,000 votes lost. So what our whānau have to be really aware of is the education around voting. And I mean not just that part, but about making sure that they're enrolled to vote, which role they're on, when are the voting papers arriving in their mailboxes, when do they need to send them back by. There are so many key messages that we need to get out, and it's up to all of us. It's our responsibility as Māori to put this pānui out there to everyone, and not just leave it up to the Electoral Commission or the FNDC or Electoral Services, because they can only do so much. Us, we're living on the ground. We know what's happening on the ground level, so everyone just needs to chip in a little bit more and make sure that we get all these key messages and dates out there.
And I think it's really, really important to have someone alongside you to explain the actual format of the voting, because you know, I've just heard Tāmati talk about the 18. Now we've got to be clear whether they just want you to list 4 of your top, or 1 to 18 through to the whole thing. Now, if that happens, then is that going to be treated as a non-vote? And that's why it's really, really clear, important for you to read how many do they want you to actually number. Do they want you to number all the 18, or do they want you to number your top 4? Because let's face it, the vote is for top 4 candidates for the Māori award. And that's the second part of it is also around, and Tāmati alluded to us in our discussion, was once you elect to be on the Māori roll for this local body election, next year we've got the general election. And so therefore, and I think I might be wrong, but you're locked into that election process as well. So you get to next year, we've got the general election, we've got the main parties coming up, and then you might think, gee, I actually want to tautoko my whanaunga, like you said, Willow Jean. Unfortunately, because of your choice now, you can't move across back to general roll for the general election of 2023. So those are the really clear steps that we really must understand. And unfortunately, if you don't have a computer or online, we've also got to look at how our iwi runangas can assist, and coming down to takiwa groups so that we utilise our structures within the iwi to assist our people, because they're on the ground, they know who's who, and having the confidence for someone to come along and support is different to someone going along and you think that they're going to support you, but ahu hakahawe ana rātou i a koe, mo tō kore mohio, you know, that sort of thing. And so it's really, really important that we have people like Tāmati used to do that role, and I remember him and his wife coming to talk to us, and actually on the ground talking to our own people so that they get a clear understanding and that they get brave enough to ask the question. Because that's the other thing. You know, they'll be ruru their heads, but inside they're going, oh, I still don't know, but I'm too shy to ask. Those are the things that we've got to pick out, and only our people can sort of identify.
And I just want to quickly jump in there as well, and I want to make this clear. I'm not calling out iwi organisations, but we know that a lot of whānau will be registered to our iwi runanga, putanua i Aotearoa. And if we have those people's information on the registration, then I think it's, you know, our iwi organisations do have a bit of responsibility to help with the promotion and the education around the voting processes. And I don't want to say that these iwi need to make sure that they need to vote for babe or vote for awairangi, kahore. I am promoting the education around the voting process and how to register as an elector. Koia nahe, ne? So, koia pia te tai huarahi hei whakamāmā I te pōtitanga ārohe e haere ake nei.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koe. I do, you know, as I'm listening to you have kōrero, I'm thinking about our whānau on the Māori roll. Myself, I've been on the Māori roll for as long as I can remember. I also moved around a lot. You know, and our whānau, we're quite transient in the way that we're moving around, particularly after COVID, and you know, now we've got all of our roads and all of these issues that that a lot of our whānau are living together to make it easier, so they don't have to travel halfway around the country just to get to mahi. I know a few whānau who are living together at the moment. So all of the voting papers are to come to our whare, apparently on the 16th to 17th of September.
So on the 16th of September is when the date has been set when the voting papers will go out to whānau, and depending on the postal services, whether they arrive in your post box at a good time, because voting closes on midday the 8th of October. If you do not receive your voting papers in the mail, please go to vote.nz or call up the phone line, and then they can help you out, because as you talked about earlier on, is that whānau may have moved and not updated their address. And if they are living together as a big whānau, that's all good. All the election services need, or electoral commission need, is an address to send your election papers to. That's,
Ka pai rā.
And last of all, please stand your mailbox up. Kia taia te mail person to put your mail inside. I seen some tahana and fell under the ground, and mail person go there, where's this? Oh, I'll put it on the gate. Come on.
Or pera I hoki aka, you know, ours goes to the local shop, you know, so pau pia te ruahiki tahi ka maumahara te tangata. Hang on, I got some mail from you from last month.
Bit like mine at home in Kaikoe here. Mine sitting on the concrete and sometimes the wind blows. Oh. I'm glad the mail person picks mine up and puts it back on the concrete. Oh yeah.
No, well, Pai, I think important to have this conversation though, around voting.
Absolutely.
And to encourage our whānau to get out and do it, to vote. You know, and it's a great opportunity for us to have our whānau representing in council, because
it's a responsibility for all of us. You know, Tāmati and I are standing just like the other 16 to represent Māori, to give a view, a Māori view to the policies that come through council. We want to ensure that it's a betterment for every whānau in our community. All we're asking for our whānau who are over the age of 18 to please go and register, get in contact with someone so that they can help you register so that your vote counts.
Yeah, and I just want to also put out the pānui that if a lot of our whānau, if they don't have internet connection or they're still having difficulty with registering to vote or finding out about the process, my office is on 99 Broadway, Kaikohe, so whānau feel free to drop in, and then we've got enrolment forms and free postage as well, so if our whānau need to come and have a look at that, we can definitely help you through the process.
Oh, pai tēnā.
And just down here is my office, ECE 660, that's my car.
Te hoiho ne?
Tērā te namo o taku hoiho.
Oh, Kapa, well, might have to park your hoiho outside. This one's tari every now and then. No, pai tēnā, and I think, you know, that having that available for whānau is going to go a long way, because I know I would rather walk into your tari than go to the council building.
That's it.
Yeah.
But in the future, you'd want to come to the council because you know you'd see more Māori faces in there. E nā tuahuatanga, ka hau atu koe ki roto i wēnei whare, ka kōrero Māori, ka kite koe i te tangata Māori, ka motu hake tō haere atu ki roto i ngā whare kaunihera. Puta noa i Aotearoa, kaua ki roto o Te Tai O Tokerau, nahe, but like we've been saying is that we all have a responsibility. So if we have, you know, some of our kura, especially our high schools, because you can actually register to vote when you're 17, and if you turn 18 within the 16th of September to the 8th of October, you can still cast your vote. Ne? Those of our whānau who have not yet registered, they will be considered as a special vote. So even that process in itself is a little bit difficult, because our whānau will have to fill out a registration form to vote, and then they will also need to cast a special vote, which you will have to do at 3 locations. I might have to be corrected on that, but we can touch on that next Friday. And those 3 main locations are at Kirikiri, the Kaikohe office, and Te Ahu Centre in Kaitaia. So even that process in itself is going to be quite huge for whānau, you know, and you know, we get huge anxiety going into these places, and also the travel. If we have a look at the roads, petrol's not cheap, you know, unless you know, kake hoiho tonu ana koe,
driver's license,
all those sort of things, you know, and a lot of the health of our whānau during this time of the year, during takurua, you know, a lot of us still sick, so having to go into these places with our real me account, or our, you know, a lot of whānau are like, oh, what the heck is that? But that's why I say we all need to be responsible to make sure that our whānau are educated, and that we make the process as easy as possible for them.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe. Well, I think we're almost coming up to the news, and we'll come back after the news and just round off our kōrero for our last segment. And I'd like to hear from both of you about you know, like maybe let's have a talk about some of the major issues that we're facing here in Te Tai O Tokerau. We've talked about, obviously, our roads is a huge one. Here we're in Mangamoka, and at this stage, the gorge is closed for an indefinite period of time. And there are some special considerations about our hapu, our whānau, and our communities that aren't really considered, I don't think, even in terms of roading. And for instance, here in Mangamoka, there's the soda stream at the top of the hill that whānau can't get to, you know, and it'd be interesting to talk about that in terms of really those are the sort of things that help to service our Māori community within the bounds of what council is responsible for, and then our rates, you know, where that goes to, and you know, that's going to be an interesting fight.
Take tino nui ne, ko ngā reiti whenua.
Kia ora. Yeah, and ko koutou ko ngā māngai Māori roto I tērā o ngā whare, you know, and there's a vast majority of our whānau, particularly in Hokianga, you know, where I'm from, there's there's a kōrero about that. I don't register my dog because I'm te mahure and my auntie doesn't pay rates because that's her land. You know? So those are the sort of things that are going to be interesting to have people in those chambers to represent our kōrero and our unique perspective, and our unique needs in our communities. Yeah.
And that's something very special as well. I always respect other whānau's views, and when I've gone out there to help whānau in terms of election processes, is that, you know, sometimes we get hammered, they're like, oh, I don't vote because da-da-da-da-da, and they give me a big whakapapa kōrero, and I'm like, ka pai, hoi no tāku, he tuku I wene kōrero. Because if you know, if we really want whānau to whakarongo to listen to our kōrero, then we have to be able to listen to their kōrero. You know, don't listen to respond, listen to understand our whānau. And another big pānui that I want to put out there as well, you know, and this is just coming from me personally, but I'm not out here to debate with Uncle Babe, Penetaui, Wairaini. Ko te iwi Māori, ka tū kotahi, ka kōkiri tahi. We need to stand together in unity. I've seen in the past, pia he ao Pākehā tēnā ne, is that they go to these different places or these meet the candidates or whatever, and they try and make us fight against each other. You know, ko te iwi, tau iwi Pākehā, hakaro pēnā nā, engari ko te iwi Māori, me tautoko I a tātou anō. I'm totally not up for that. I'm totally not up for running down other candidates. We're here to support one another. Otira ko te iwi Māori te whakaaro nui.
It's a model that we've always followed. It's a model that, you know, that's been placed onto any sort of election, whether it's board of trustees, whether it's you know, a board that they want from a group, they want 1 or 2 or 3 of us. It's not about competition. It's about finding what really is in need for the people. And then your beneficiary is the people that's going to vote. And once they decide who's in there, then the first thing is to ensure or to work from those who are collected. How do we gel together as a team? You know, I mean, if what's his name, the All Black coach was the coach for this thing, they were saying, oh, I don't think you selected the right people, you know. But that's the key thing to how we think. It's about working together, and we know how to work together. We know how to share. The thing, the other concept that we've got to look at is just ensuring that we're able to reflect, so that we get the betterment coming forward. And you know, we all will make mistakes, but the key thing is let's learn from the mistakes that we made, and don't go back into that area. So we've got to be able to reflect. We've got to be able to capture what are our strengths. How do we move forward? How do we address? How do we give this issue a Māori lens? And what's that look like? And the other thing is, you know, I go home to my wahine who's Pākehā. I've got to make sure everything is safe. I might get to the door there. Oh, sorry, Māori.
No tea for you.
No
tonight.
tea for me. Or go watch the other TV. But that's you know, whoever brought out that word partnership, boy, shoot the bugger, because we always knew how to be a partner. We always knew how to be a partner. And who better to demonstrate partnership is us. So we've got to we're in the role of authority. That's what Ngāpui is all about. We're an authority. And what we're ensuring is that our authority is there, and we're going to work. You know, we're going to work with whoever is there, based on the values that we have. Tikanga, we got all these ngā mea katoa. And kei kona ke te ngako mo tātou, you know. Kia mahi tahi I raro, you know, paihere te rungi, te rangi maari. Let's put some tinana to that sort of kōrero. Hey, let's put some tinana to that sort of kōrero, of course. We've heard it long before, down, up, in between. Now it's time to mahi. You know, I always say, I'm too old for that reanga, but I'm too young when I'm with the 80-year-olds. You know, I'm sick of doing cup of teas for the 80-year-olds. You know, those sort of things. So you're either young, old, but the idea is the wisdom that you've caught from everywhere, the values that you picked up from both young and old, because you learn something everywhere, you know, and here's the opportunity to provide what you've gained from both sectors of our iwi. You know, you work together. There's 4 seats. We're after one of them. That's the fact.
And the calibre of those 18
calibre
people,
of the
as I
18,
look
yeah.
through, you know, that list, there's definitely the potential for a dream
Absolutely.
team.
Yep.
You know, you pick four of almost any of those people that are on that list, and you've got some good pukenga, as you say, Matua, but yeah, mā te mahitahi, mā te mahitahi, and that's I think that's going to be important, particularly with the size of the rohe, as we were talking about. You know, there's got to be some strategy, and you know, coming back to what you were saying about working together, I saw a post from Whai Hilda, who's standing, you know, and her encouragement was to put your first favourite vote for someone young. You know, but neat, eh? That's
that
so
is
neat.
so whakaiti, man.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, put your first favourite vote to someone young who's going to get out there and be a gun. And then, you know, consider voting for me as a tuara for the kaupapa, and, you know, and it's really nice to have the two of you on our couch today for the same reason, eh? Because you have to work together in that space. Yeah.
And that's the true meaning of that kōrero is working together. And, you know, even some of the kōrero that I've been having is that I've been saying, you know, especially within our rohe, you know, mai tōwai, kawakawa, moerewa, e rāwhiti, tai atu ki roto o kaikohe, puta noa i ngā wāhi katoa, ngā kōpiko katoa o te hokianga, you know, is that consider these 2 people as your 1 and 2, and then your 3 and 4. It's up to you, but consider these 2 people, because we're really pushing for other people to go to be in those mayoral roles. But, you know, if Baby and I are down here in the Kaikohe Hokianga Ngāti Hine area, then we need to really push the message to make sure that, you know, it's either those 1 or 2 votes for those positions. And because, as Uncle Babe talked about before as well, kainui te tini o ngā kaikauni here, so there's other candidates who are actually living in Muri Whenua, who are living in the Ngāti Kahu area, such as Nais Emmanuel. Auntie Hilda's up in Muri Whenua. Pene Taui's going to be up in Te Aupōuri a lot more. So I really encourage the whānau that if they're up those ways, then they look at those candidates and that they give their votes to them as well, because they are on the ground. They know what's happening in their own hapori. And for myself, you know, ka hanga, I'd feel a little bit whakamā, to go from Kaikohe and being brought up there and in the Hokianga Ngāti Hine area, to go up there and be like, okay, you know, this is what we're going to do. Nah, it's just like going into someone else's pantry and rearranging it. Ki tā koe pai ai. So I really encourage our whānau that if you're in those hapori, then to look at those candidates that have long been living and standing in those communities as their 1 and 2 votes.
Kia ora, and that, you know, that's strategic, and I think you know, be strategic about how we're going to do it, and e tika ana. And you spoke similarly to Matua when you were saying about that going out into another rohe and you know, and that's part of our tikanga as well. You know, and that's something that is important for council to learn, I think, and for that to become part of the culture there as well, so that
the key of courtesies, you know, you know, those are the key things, and the rules of engagement, you know, they talk about those sort of things. So you go into another area, you know that you're going into that area, and then you would, you know, you pay respects to whoever that the hapu is or the iwi is, so that they're aware. And I never forget when we used to go from Kaikohe to over to Teti to Ngāti Rehia and over to my cousin's place, and we always used to sort of let them know, okay, we're pre-warning, and it wasn't not only to let them know, but to also meet us at the certain places along the road, so that they can push our van up the hill. Because we had this old Ford van, and some of us had to hop out of the van so the van. But it's those sort of the courtesies are the key thing.
Yeah, and those are tikanga that have been long ingrained, you know, in our whakapapa. It's things that we know just on the back of our hand. You can't learn this stuff at university. He mea kua tuku iho no mai rā no mai ngā tūpuna heke noa ki a tātou katoa. And I think that's what some of the processes that council in the past, or even the kawana, has not recognised, or they think that they know. Engari kahore, recently I went to a hui in Ngāwha. Nā, ko te kai kōrero tuatahi mo te taha o ngā manuhiri, ko moko tepa nea, hāra mai, e ao te kōrero te tangata. Hianga nei, katakata pai ngā hunga i taua tangata rā. Taika tū mai ko te tuarua, hei kanohi, hei reo mo te koro matua. Tuia ki te kōrero i te roto i te reo pihikete, but I think pena ko te tini no atu o ngā Māori, if we had known and we had set ourselves to say, Kapa, you know, here are the kai kōrero, but as Māori we're quite whakaiti, and you know, unless you get the you know, the mau te kōrero tuarua, tuatori,
They all lift the eyebrow.
Yeah. That's why you always keep your head down. But ko te kai kōrero mo te koro matua stood up to represent and I reo Pākehā. Ki hai tēnei i tino tau I roto I taku ngākau. And it wasn't until later on in reflection that I thought that's probably something that I should have nipped in the bud and, you know, he akoranga tēnā. But I think for Māori in terms of tikanga and waiting, you know, making sure that our kaumātua or our elders give us the signal to move forward, then it's okay. But if we're just jumping into other iwi, other hapu, other areas, roles and responsibilities where we know that other people should be doing that, then yeah, it's not right sometimes.
Tēnā koe. Well, I think let's have a waiata, have a bit of a break, and then we'll come back for our last segment, which is looking forward. But I think that it's been some awesome kōrero to share with our whānau today, particularly around the enrolment process and making sure that we get everything in line so that we're able to do that. I'll be checking what's our website again?
Just go to vote.nz.
Vote.nz.
So it's that short, you don't even need to do the www, just vote.
Vote.nz, whānau. And check, I'll be checking because, you know, and the whole way that they've set the process up as well, that we don't have the option to change again until
2024.
Yeah.
2024. Yeah.
And so they're saying in all of the documentation that I've seen about Māori wards as well, they're saying we've got 2022 and up to 2025, and they're not talking about beyond 2025 yet, which is an interesting sort of thing to notice in all of their, you know, in all of the kupu that I've read that's come out from council. So this is our time, eh? This really is our time to make an impact and do the best that we can of tidying all of this stuff up. It's interesting when you say that you're not even sure what the process will be, whether it's 1 to 18 or 1 to 4. And yeah, so we won't know that until the voting papers
get their
come
website.
out?
Yeah, and that's probably part of it. I mean, I think it's better for both myself and Uncle Babe to say that we're unsure about those processes and that we need to make sure that, because, you know, we don't want to be saying that this is exactly what the process is, but we're unsure about it. And maybe it's just a, you know, it's just a hint for whānau to go, oh, shucks, you know, maybe I need to jump on and make sure for myself, you know, because whānau need to read it for themselves and get the message set within their own whānau as well.
Kia ora, tēnā koe. Hey, we got a waiata that we can go, oh, look, Ray's giving the thumbs up there at the desk. Ngā mihi whānau, thank you for joining us today. It's been an awesome kōrero so far. I've really enjoyed hearing, you know, the perspective that you fellas have brought and you know, how important it is that you see it as being a responsibility to stand in these places. You know, earlier you were talking as well about some people use this as a career move, like this is a stepping stone on the way to somewhere else, and that's fair enough if you want to have a political career. But I think it's really valuable that you're coming. That both of you are speaking from that space of responsibility rather than being in a space of climbing a ladder?
Well, I think, you know, we've got to be realistic, because when we mix our groupings, so, you know, we've got the youth that are coming through now, we've got to be able to support that, because that's our succession plan for tomorrow. And then we've got to consider, you know, the maturity of those of us like myself who are demonstrating that what the tuara can do. Hey, and that's support, reinforce, and keep on track, and all those sort of things. You've got to play those two together, because, you know, to me it's like watching a western. Off goes Lone Ranger, goes to all the bizzo, and here comes Tonto. Our atahaide. Don't forget, we've got to pick up our so-and-sos. Don't forget to do this. You've got to be able to work this for the betterment of who you're trying to represent. And our responsibilities, I remember Tāmati's earlier kōrero in another setting where he talked about we've all been prepared for this. And he's absolutely right. You know, the only people who I've seen that have looked after their people, they've you know, looked after and set them in their thing, it has been Ngāti Hine. And they do it so well. And that's why, you know, they've done really well. Now, it's not to say that we haven't, but we've got a different approach. You know, I remember he's koro Matt, and he used to coach. He used to coach people. And my mate Teti was one of them, and no doubt he's moko puno too. So we've all been coached somewhere. I'm just trying to think, remember who my coach was, but the key thing is that we've all been championed. We get a time to flourish. That's when you start to show the true values of what investment those people have put into you. You know, and so you know, Tāmati is actually right. It's not about a competition. It's about showing or doing demonstrating those values that you got from whoever tautohoed you. These are what they look like through my eyes. And then you just go and do the mahi. You know, that's the value of it all. It's so intricate in us, but someone calls it another name. You know, someone calls it, oh, they're those renegades. There's those, you know, we get labeled again. So, you know, we stick. You know, I got the kōrero from some organisation saying, oh, you got to put all these policies in. I said, who said? You know, who said I should do that? I'm able to demonstrate and put out there the things that I believe can work, could work, but it can't work without people. You know, it's not going out there, well, boy, we've got to do this. No. You got to, you know, it's just like a 3-course meal. You put the first course out, you have a bit of a taste, and if someone says, oh, that was nice, and I say, watch out for the main course, bro, and you go back and get the main course. Oh, that was even better. Watch out for pudding. There, you've taken a person on a journey. And it's all based around the trust, credibility in the person, you know, and it's in their integrity, and those are the values that push us through.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe matua. Kia ora. Let's go to... morning. I've really enjoyed listening, particularly in our last kōrero about how our whānau can be, how we can all be prepared in terms of our responsibilities with making sure that we're right on the roll. We just had a kōrero about for you, Tāmati, what are your aspirations for the future? This is the first time that there's been a Māori ward, and you've stood, for your generation. You're inspiring in terms of your mahi pakihi. All our whānau want to have a tai o or something on.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone
Lots
wants
of babes been wearing us.
everyone wants the tai o gears, so you've taken that brand, which is not just a brand, but it's a concept, and it's it's a flag for our tikanga and for what it is that we believe in. So similarly with this race that you're in, we keep calling it a race, but this kaupapa that you've stood in. How do you see the future and aspirations, particularly for our young people, and in terms of business and in terms of inspiring our young people to be the best that they can be here in Te Tai Tokerau?
Yeah, I think just for myself, and there's quite a lot of us too, with the likes of Penetaue and Moko and others within my generation as well. We want to normalise these sort of things, these roles and responsibilities. For too long, through colonisation, I believe it is, that Māori have been taught that, we can't do these things. We've been put in a box. Even just recently, I've been to a hui, and on the paper it said that, you've got 3 minutes for me. And I just thought, what the heck? Who are people to tell us that our reo, that our mātauranga, has to be within a 3-minute time frame? And so it continues, and it's there in many white spaces and many spaces that we go into. We don't realise it. And so for me and our generation, it's an opportunity to normalise these roles and responsibilities. And if we even, take a good listen to a lot of our tamariki, and I've recently heard, even one of my cousins who's over 40 now, say that, oh no, I'm too dumb to take on that role, in an organisation. And we're like, cuz, if we think back to our tupuna, kupe, nukutawhiti, ruanui, they navigated from Hawaii to Aotearoa, not just once, but many times, using mātauranga Māori, using krakia, using observations of our tai o, the kuaka, the tohora, ngā au o te moana, ena tuahuatanga katoa, ngā tātai whetū, te maramataka. We are so clever, but we've forgotten that. We've forgotten that because we've been taught in the mainstream system that te reo is not valuable, that mātauranga Māori has no place in the world of science, that mātauranga Māori in the education sector is less than mainstream. And so what we're really trying to do is to normalise, not just to our generation, to our tamariki and to our mokopuna, but also to let our other whānau know that, yes, we are clever. We are very, very smart. We know 2 languages, ne? And if we've learnt reo rotorota, then we know 3 languages, ne? And that we have an understanding of our tai o, and that we understand whakapapa, we understand how our environment works, and how we need to tiaki, manaki, and tuku i te aroha ki ngā tini whanaunga. And it's just, don't think that we can't take things on like these roles and responsibilities within council. And I really want to mihi to Moko because, him moving in as a councillor for the Kaikoe Hokianga Ward was a huge achievement, not just for his whānau, but Māori in Te Tai Tokerau and all of Aotearoa, and for us all for supporting the establishment of Māori wards throughout Aotearoa. And I want to give a big mihi to all the Māori ward candidates who are standing in their hapori, because that's just what I'm talking about, is that we need to stand up and realise that we're actually really, really brainy, and that we can do this together though, not just as a single person, as a whole unit.
Tēnā koe.
So you,
kia koe anō, you've lived through a time of change yourself, you know, and so now we have all of these wonderful young people who have come through kura kaupapa, who've come through ko hangareo, who have been supported by whānau, and when Tāmati can mention the ones in his reanga, and we realise that they're all wonderful, forward-moving people.
Yeah.
You've seen up to this point too, you know, and the transition and the change. So, pēhea kia koe, what do you see as being the future? Hea hanga wawata mō tō tātou rohe.
Well, first of all, you know, it's really pleasing to have youth that have that dimension of can do it, because that gives us hope, but it also gives us the strength as well, you know, from my era. Because if, you know, for me going backwards, it really was painful and it really struggled, and okay, so it's taken all this time to get over it. But the lessons that I've learned has come from my own children, very similar ages, you know, and so the challenges that my children have given to me has, you know, sort of reawakened myself, because, you know, I would never have worn pink socks.
Pai ngā tōkena nei.
You know, I would never have worn pink socks or a shirt like this, because in our time they would say, ooh, chica sissy, or, you know, ooh, that. But, you know, the bravery of my era to actually move into those areas has been a big shift. And then when we've got our tamariki, like Tāmati, talking like that, it actually gives some value to what we were, how we were brought up, because it's not a sinking ship all the way through. All of a sudden, someone came with some pati and put some pati on the holes, and our waka is actually up and you know, is floating. Now, tomorrow's hoi is about us going together. And so people like myself, who I won't say who've got knowledge, but who have experienced some governance, some management, you know, in those sort of concepts, are able to pull together those sort of kōrero, add it to the kōrero like Tāmati is talking, and say, hey, does this fit into this model that we're going forward? Does it contribute? Does it have added value? And if it doesn't, we're not precious. Let it go, so that we can hold on to the points and the kiko to give us some strength to go forward. And so I'm really, you know, I'm myself in this time. So the first time I was a bit of a lone ranger, and I said to myself, well, I challenged myself, because I've always felt that I was ready for something, you know. And so you're talking about 9 years ago, so that's off. Oh, that's a few years.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. But you know, and so I went through, and what I wanted to do was to learn the process, to learn people's behaviour. How do they respond to a sign? Because even myself, putting myself out there, it was such a challenge. You know, it was a struggle, and saying, "Ooh, babe, kapa, oh, Jingles, I'm not allowed to do that." You know, those forbidden things that you don't go. You know, kore te kumara tū ki te kore te tōna nei reka. But I wanted to talk about how sweet I was, because no one else was talking about me. So you've got to say, right, okay, I'm going to put the thing in a post there, and you get out there and you sort of say, right. But the beauty of it was I had some tuara. You know, I had whānau to sort of say, you can do it. You know, and you do these sort of things. So the transitions in all those areas are so vital. And like Tāmati's now, these are the transitions that we're going through. And they're exciting for all of us. Because my mokopuna, who was born in Australia, came home and she said, "Oh, Mipa, my name is Kira. Tai O Tokerau. Ooh, that's a beautiful Māori name." And she said, and she's 5, that's not a Māori name. Yeah, that's Aborigine name.
Oh.
No, Australia, see, te Kira in Gold Coast. Tai O Tokerau. Hang on, Kira. K-I-R-R. Nah, that's what made it a Māori name, Kira. Why is that? Got a double R. Tai aka tituru mai kia? Ooh, sure.
Sure,
You know,
Māori.
so the challenges are coming lower than in our little tamariki. And those are the celebrations we're going to look. We're going to celebrate this.
Teka,
You know,
celebrate
these
all
are
the
the
small
celebrations.
moments,
Yeah. And so while we celebrate, let's all our whānau celebrate. The end of the day, we've got to have 4. Love to take 18, and we can fill those in as we go. But we've got to start with 4. Then we take 5 with the mea. Then we take, era mea, and we start to build the things around value, the things around credibility, the things around integrity, the things around, pono, tika. And aroha doesn't necessarily mean sweet and everything. You got to call the call a call. You got to be strong but firm, and then you say, here's some consequences. These are some conditions that we can actually fit. So coming back to my kōrero, tomorrow is just a reflection of today, but we're putting added value to it. And what we're saying is our whānau don't have to live the same way. We don't have to have 10 in a room. We had 6 in our room. We had 3-bedroom house, 1 for the girls, and there's only 2 girls in our room, in their room. And there was 5 of us. And we had 1 single bed and 1 double bed.
Yeah, but you follow the skinny of those, that's all right.
Yeah, if you lie sideways. But when they lie on their back, the armpits was, and I was the smallest one, so I was in the middle of this. So we had 5, and so we're moving. We're getting better. We learn. We put our foot outside there. And we look for work, but our ukaipo is always no. Ke kone tō pito, ke kone tō whenua, ke kone tō kāinga. Keep those in mind. And what we've got to try and encourage, like our whānau in the prisons who are saying to us, I'm lost. I don't know how to do this. Accept that they're lost. Ko e mea tu ki rātou, you're just dumb. Come on. This is our opportunity to change the narrative so that we can replace it with ngā kōrero e tikana mō tātou iwi. Huri hea te wairua. I taka hea. Tuku nātu ngā wairua pai mai te kāinga. And if you're not from Kaikohe, that's all right. Just stick to our rules. Because kei konei ke te kawa. You got to look after,
Kia ora. Kia ora. E mea mai koe, tiakina te kawa, me ngā tikana a tātou. Engari he tikanga anō, he kawa anō, kei roto i tērā o ngā whare, te whare kaunihera, ngā mahi hakahaere i roto i ngā tūkanga rātou. They have their processes, their ways of doing things. There's a whole... I had an interesting kōrero with Moko about that, and he sort of just broke down some of the processes that they have within council, so we're now 4 whānau get in. That's going to be a challenge as well, I think, because we're taking all of our tikanga, we're taking our kawa, we're taking the voice and the concerns of our whānau into that space, and as much as they have to become comfortable about a Māori way of doing things and don't leave just 3 minutes for the mihi and those sorts of things, I'm interested to hear what you think about the processes that they have. Can we change them? How much influence do we have to change it, you know, and what would you like to see in council in terms of perhaps having a different influence over that whare, you know, kia mau tonu tātou ki wa tātou tikanga hoki i roto i tērā o ngā whare.
I look at Parliament today, and then I look at Parliament 10, 20 years ago. Ko tīmata rā, our Māori members in there stand and mihi. Okay, they get mocked, but i roto i a rātou, they stand, they deliver their mihi in the integrity that was set by them because they are the representatives.
Kia ora.
The introduction of te taha Māori i roto te kaunihera me tīmata tātou. Ātahi koe, taia te mahi tahi, but te tāku nei, again, we need that transition because this is a new platform, new format, and we've got to exercise that. To me, it's about exercising these are some of the givens that we want to work with. In the kore, well, we start again, and we because I always believe in, I think it was Mac, forget what his name is, the old fellow from down Hokianga. He always said, you know, a good Pākehā, when you find them, you shoot them. Taioka mea te, yeah. O horere ngā te hui a mate, and te nuinga he Pākehā. And he laughed and he said, no, what I really mean to say is, when you get a good Pākehā, and he said, the definition of good Pākehā is when they are able to understand and are prepared to make change. Nā, ke kona te kōrero. To make change. You awhi them. But what he used was he shot them because he said, before they go bad. Ki te koe? Mama noi. So we've got to talk this through because there will be, you know, there will be some people, some of the members there who'll be frightened. They'll be worried.
Aye.
I just sort of question because they've been living in Tai Tokerau for quite some time. But never mind, you got to value them, you think. But I come with value. I come with value.
Kapa.
I come from Ariki, I come from all this whakapapa. That has big value to me.
Tēnā koe. E Tāmati, I think we're almost at the end of our kōrero e hoa, but I just wanted to, come to you and you know, like I think, as I was saying, kei roto i tērā o ngā whare, kei a rātou wā rātou kaupapa hakahaere, you'll be one of the young whips, they like to call them, you know, these you know, younger representatives of our whānau in that space. And you'll also, I think, be dealing with a lot of trauma from our whānau, you know, there'll be a lot of trauma from our whānau, past experiences with kaunihera, you know, and you'll be also expected to you know, we touched on it earlier, you'll be expected to be the ear to our whānau and the voice for our whānau in that space where they have a very specific way of doing things. The language and everything, you know, like pērā noi te marae for us. Like I've been in council chambers and it's been interesting to sort of see me pēhea te taha hakahaere. So, you know, how do you feel like the best way forward is to keep it tika, keep it pono, keep it tūturu to our whānau and be able to progress within that system?
I think first of all, ka hoki anō ngā hakaro ki ngā kōrero taua tupuna rātou taniwha, manu korewha. Ko ngā tikanga no te tangata, ne? Ko ngā kawa no ngā atua. Nō reira, ko ngā tikanga kei roto i ngā kaunihera, ka taia tonu te haka pokake i aua tikanga kua roa nei e au pēhiana i te iwi Māori. So we do have the ability to move into these spaces and change these policies and procedures. E hari te mea ana hau, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Ko te timataranga kautanga tēnei. And if we have fought so hard and we have managed to establish Māori wards within our councils, puta noa i Aotearoa, then what's to say that we can't progress further in terms of making sure that we establish and that we help grow our tikanga to be able to assist our whānau in gaining mana motuhake and tino rangatiratanga within whatever that means to these whānau Māori. Ne? I'm not saying that tino rangatiratanga and mana motuhake means just one thing, but it's up to those whānau to dictate and to make meaning or their own perception of what that means to them, whether it means having their whenua back, having their whare on their whenua, or having better healthcare systems. And I do also want to acknowledge, you know, the huge mahi that our karani, our tupuna have done in the past. They fought so hard to make sure that we had just the smallest things, but they were huge celebrations, and ka kite tātou i ngā hua o ena mahi o rātou. And also to Uncle Babe and the many of that generation who have, you know, put their hats in the ring or have fought so hard in other areas of te ao Māori to make sure that we get our voice and our faces out there and that we deserve the recognition that we have long fought for mai rāno. And our whakapapa, we should also remember that our whakapapa has huge meaning when we move into whatever space, whether it be te ao Māori or mainstream, because we are clever people and we have long been clever people. And I also want to put the message out there to our whānau beyond the responsibility of making sure that we go through these voting processes is to be kind. You know, we talk about tika, pono, me te aroha, engari te nuingo te wā, e rongo ana ma te taringa, e kōrero ana ma te arero. Ne, tikana. So a lot of the times we te aroha, tai tātou ka puta tui te whare, ka kohe te ngā wairaini, ka mautuara ki a wairaini. But honestly, I really want our whānau, whoever of the candidates go into council as a Māori ward representative, please be kind to us.
Kia ora.
Please.
Tautoko.
Because when Moko got in and the stuff went down about SNAs, a lot of our whānau, they were very nasty to Moko, you know. And if we're talking about Māori male health, mental health, or just mental health, it's real, you know. And as an individual, that trickles down to whānau, it trickles to hapu, to iwi. So we need to make sure that we look after one another. And we're not going to get all of these policies, we're not going to get everything changed in just 3 years. It is only the beginning. Ko te timataranga kautanga tēnei. But we do promise that we will voice the concerns of our iwi and our hapu. But please be kind to us and please support us. Pena ka wero I runga I te ngākau aroha, te pono me te tika.
Kia ora.
Kia ora e hoa. I can't think of a better way to leave our conversation than that kōrero right there. Ngā mihi kia koe, you know, and it's awesome to sit here with the two of you and to see the maturity and hear the maturity in your kōrero, you know, and to hear the youthful.
Te hanga nei koe, te taumatu ko te taiori.
And to hear the youthful perspective coming from you, Matua, you know, and this is just a beautiful example of how, you know, how our 18 members of our whānau, of our extended whakapapa, have got the ability to work together. And I really loved your kōrero earlier about saying it's not a competition, and that's what this kaupapa is about. It's just to sit down, have a yarn with all of our candidates and find out where everybody is coming from, and me kia hupehia hoki tātou o ngā pohi nui tonu. Nē rā, no reira, tēnei anō te mihi atu kia kaurua. He kōrero hakamutunga wā kaurua.
I te tōnga o te rā, toko whānga hunga ka whiwhi. Tautoko hau te kōrero a Tāmati. Āwhina tia, tautoko njea, tuku nātu ngā aroha kia rātu, toko whā. Tēnā koe.
Hoi noi mihi ana kia koutou o te teihana o Tautoko FM o te koutou hakapaukaha ki te tuari atu i tēnei kaupapa o tira i tō tātou reo rangatira, arā ko te reo Māori. Ki wa tātou whānau, tuhia mā te pene, kawa mā te ārero. Tūkotahi, kōkiritahi. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Ngā mihi kia tātou kua hui mai i tēnei rā, i roto i tēnei kaupapa. Nōku te honore, nōku anō te whiwhi, te noho i te taha o ōku whanaunga nei. Nō reira, hoki mai anō rā a tērā praere mai te kaukraka taino atu ki te kaumārua Ngā Tai O Tokerau. Ngā mihi rā.